everybody, and welcome back to Practically Green. I can't believe we're actually on episode 10 now. I'm Evelyn Fitzpatrick, and my co-host here is
Anna
Anna.
Brown, hello, hi.
So this podcast is designed to help you live more sustainably. Each week we talk about a variety of simple, practical steps that you can use to live lightly. Nobody is perfect. That includes ourselves. We don't expect anyone to be perfect, but we do hope that by sharing ideas, we can all make a difference. We think that our future can be sustainable and beautiful, as well as fragrant and delicious. So, as I said, I'm Evelyn. I work in the Rediscovery Centre, the National Centre for the Circular Economy, and this is Anna, a local
Hi,
flower farmer and sustainable educator.
that's exactly who I am. And I suppose
How's it going, Anna?
just, you know, we're telling you about sustainable stuff, but they're things that actually are quite nice to do and
Hmm.
that make your life better. They're not hair shirty things.
Yeah.
Um, and people maybe don't think about doing them because they're usually things that don't cost very much money. So nobody gets, advertising dollars out of doing these things or marketing budgets. So they're not things that are pushed to people, but we
Mhm.
think they're things people should be doing, and that they're free or cheap or inexpensive, but they're also good for the planet. And I
Absolutely.
I know I've the last while I've been feeling like a bit disheartened. It's been a very bad summer for butterflies, and I'm the little the acre that we have that we try to turn into sustainable forestry. We're we expect to see a bit better there than anywhere else,
Mhm.
but it's just been very sad. We had a lot of butterflies in at the start of the year when it was sunny. I think it was April or May, and then there's nothing been very little since then. And we
Mhm.
had a lot of butterflies last year, and it's kind of I'm hearing this from people all across the country. And I'm hearing people saying that their yields of vegetables are very low and the tomatoes aren't ripening and the dahlias aren't blooming. And I normally can be quite cheerful about, whatever's going on, but I actually am feeling a little bit down. So it's good to have this podcast to come to send out and to listen to. So people, if they are feeling down, maybe there's things that you can do to kind of distract yourself from the other stuff that's not so good and to do something, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%, because I feel the same way, Anna. I actually went on a heritage walk in Turles Pass there this weekend, and it was supposed to be a butterfly moth walk, but we just couldn't do that. I think we saw three butterflies on it, and that was on the box, so it was incredible. So I feel exactly the same, and I think that when you know about climate change and when you're noticing what it actually looks like, it can be so overwhelming. And I hear that from people all the time, and I feel it myself all the time. But definitely, like, the way to beat that overwhelm is by doing positive things and speaking about positive things and trying our best, because we all can do something. So I think that's really, really important, for our own well-being, as well as everything else.
Yeah. So last week or last time we had a bit of a break. So we didn't
Yeah.
intend to have such a long break. We had kind of a month between podcasts. So we have a new process in place that hopefully will result in podcasts coming out more
Yeah.
quickly
Big
after we
turn.
record them. But we recorded one a while back about recycling, and that went out last week, about plastic recycling mostly. And
Yeah.
actually, it did help me. Having that conversation helped me realize what I could start putting into my bin. So I've actually gotten more stuff into the recycling bin than I had in the past. So thanks to that, Evelyn. That was really great.
Excellent. Great. I'm delighted.
But following on from that, we want to talk about microplastics this week.
Yes.
And they are
Yeah.
invisible and dangerous and
And
horrible.
everywhere.
And they're everywhere. They found them in babies, in mother's breast milk, in
Hmm.
placentas. It's in the water, it's in the air we breathe. Um, So it's a scary thing, but there are
Yeah.
things that you can do to reduce the amount of microplastics that you consume, which is pretty much all you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there needs to be things done at a policy level, at government level, at legal level, at international level. But for the moment, to try and minimize our own consumption would
For
be a
sure. For
smart thing to
sure.
do. It's one of those things I think we don't actually know what they're going to do to us.
Yeah.
And so knowing not knowing that, I mean, we didn't know how bad cigarettes were first. We didn't know, there's lots
Yeah.
of things we didn't know how bad they were for us, and then we found out afterwards. So this one, we suspect that they're bad. Um,
I assume so.
So, and like, there's no, I mean, it doesn't hurt you to avoid them. So why would you not do that? Let's talk
Absolutely.
about a few simple things that you can do to avoid
Hmm.
consuming and adding more microplastics to the
Yeah.
system. So, um,
Well, before we get into it, I think saying even what they are first is one thing. So generally, microplastics would be under 5 millimeters, I think, is the general size. So anything smaller than a sesame seed would be considered microplastic, but generally we're not actually able to see them with the naked eye. So they're like you said, they're everywhere. They're getting into they're going the whole way through the food chain, and they're ending up in us. So I think you're dead right that it's important to avoid them.
and they have those forever chemicals in them that are not good for us, the
Yeah.
PFAS and whatever that, I mean, people keep manufacturing with those, and it's hard to, it's hard to countenance that why we keep manufacturing plastics and single-use plastics when all we know about all this bad stuff. But
Yeah. Yeah. Like if a plastic bottle takes about 450 years to break down. Um, so if
that's
we're
turning into
getting
microplastics.
plastics shed, yeah, yeah, if we're like drinking water with microplastics in it, then obviously that's well, I would say that is a problem anyway.
Yeah.
And
So certain,
if
and
you're
I think the combination of plastic and heat is a really
mhm,
bad one. I think
yeah,
there's lots, so um in my house we haven't microwaved anything in plastic for a long time.
yeah,
We put it into, if you've stored it in plastic, that's not brilliant, but it's not terrible.
yeah,
But or maybe it comes in plastic, but put it into a ceramic dish or a glass dish to heat it up in the microwave or into something metal for the oven. And that's a really, I mean, there was some guy did some studies like that. He was looking at, he had a baby and he wanted to see, how much, what would add to the baby's milk. He was reheating formula, and so he was trying different things, and basically any kind of plastic with, he was reheating baby's milk, and there was microplastics that can go into the milk. So
wow,
yeah, so
yeah,
yeah,
that's terrifying, isn't it? It's
yeah,
terrifying.
and you wouldn't
Yeah,
be heating bottles up that hot for babies,
yeah.
you know.
I don't know a whole lot about that side of it.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah,
so that's kind of, it's definitely, he was a scientist who was able to measure the stuff, but he was interested enough because he had a new baby in the house, so he was trying to figure it out. So maybe just to talk about some of the things we can do. So we mentioned, don't be reheating in plastic. And if you can
yeah,
avoid storing in plastic, like you can reuse your jam jars, all your glass jars can be reused both for the fridge and for the freezer. The freezer one, you want to just make sure you have like a good old gap at the top so that the air, because the cold things expand. So you'll break the
yeah,
glass if it's too full, but you don't have to fill it up all the way. You can just have it,
yeah.
half full
That
or
used to be a thing I was afraid of because I was convinced any glass in the freezer and it would smash. But yeah, it is. It's the little bit of air in the top of it that's
yeah.
the key.
Or you can even leave the lid like not tightly and then tighten it up afterwards, as
Hmm.
long as they're not upside down. But like all the jam jars and all the things that, you buy things in jars, your spaghetti sauce, whatever, they can
Yeah,
all go into the freezer with things in them with your soup or whatever. So that's one worth doing. And then if you have a plastic chopping board, throw it
yeah,
out.
right.
I mean,
Yeah,
you can actually imagine the plastic as you have your very nice sharp knife, because it's really good to use a sharp knife.
yeah.
Cutting into something on that chopping board, it's unlikely that you will not have plastic in your food after that.
Yeah, I think I saw a video before of somebody doing it and having a microscope on it, and they were just chopping and chopping and chopping, and you could see on the microscope that there was these tiny little shreds of plastic going onto it. I mean, you look at a plastic chopping board anyway, there's always little slices taken out of it. So yeah, definitely that would be another one to use a wooden chopping board
I have a
or
wooden chopping board that I bought in America in 1985.
hmm.
Now it has a bit of a dip in it, all right, but like
Yeah,
we're maybe having a bit of wood in our food. That's not a problem. We humans have been eating wood
yeah.
and this has lasted now. What I mean, it's lasted like nearly 40 years. So,
There you
um,
go.
that was a good investment. And
Yep.
it's basically it's working perfectly.
Yeah.
So even if it's a little bit more expensive, and I mean, I know people like to have different color chopping boards for different, for the meat and stuff, but just put like a label on it or put a string on it. There's a hole in it usually. Put a bit of string that's a different color. Do it that way.
Yeah.
Don't be using
Oh,
plastic
that's a good
chopping board.
idea.
If you want to distinguish them, or even
Yeah.
put a bit of something along the side, maybe some kind of a marker or something, or paint that, that
Yeah,
obviously you're
that's a
not going
really
to be in
good
contact
idea.
with that. Yeah, because like some people do want to have, a board for vegetables and a board for meat. Um, and so you can distinguish them without having to use plastic.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's actually perfect, Anna, because I wasn't I don't I'm not a meat eater, so I don't have that problem. Everything goes on the one chopping board at
And
my
that's
house,
but
and that
same
chopping
here.
board is taking
But some people are
a
more picky, or that they want to know
yeah,
that you've used different ones. So
yeah,
there's ways
yeah,
to get around that.
absolutely.
So what else do
Um,
we have?
Talking about heating, I suppose pans as well, Anna. Non-stick pans have a layer of plastic on the top of them as well. So moving away from those over to cast iron pans or
Yeah.
stainless steel pans, as well, because again, you're heating it. You're just heating it and swishing the food around, and you always see in the non-stick pans the little scrapes and stuff going out of them. So
So you, you
that's
you can
exactly
get
into our
a,
dinner.
a ceramic nonstick.
Yeah, yeah,
So those I think are all right. It's the
those are all right. Yeah,
Teflon. The Teflon is
it's
the
the
problem.
fun.
So
Yeah,
if they're attached to your non-stick, but I mean, cast iron is beautiful and it improves
yeah,
with use.
yeah.
And you can make it very good and non-stick, very, there's videos online to show you how to do that. So that's definitely worth doing.
Yes,
Um, but
yeah,
if for some reason that's too heavy for you to use, because they are quite heavy, you might have
they
limited
are.
ease with your strength, and you want to use a lighter pan, then try to go for the one that doesn't have the Teflon, that's the ceramic non-stick.
Yeah.
Anything else, Evelyn, from
Yeah, it's a little bit being a little bit more conscious when we're shopping. Yeah. Moving away from things like cling film as well can be another one. I suppose it's anything if you have food, moving anything plastic away from it. Now, I am guilty of throwing things. I always keep like Chinese takeaway containers and use them for food storage, like I do. But I am adamant not to heat in them. So everything always goes into a bowl. Because as I said, nobody's perfect.
yeah,
But using things like beeswax wraps instead of cling film as well, just to eliminate another piece of plastic. Um, and then another area where there is so many microplastics is in our clothes.
that's right.
So loads of our clothes, like most of our clothes at this point, it's getting crazy when you go shopping and you're looking at the labels, polyester and nylon and acrylic. Sorry, my dog is going ballistic here, looking for me to go and run around with them. But yeah, so they're all, if you see polyester, nylon, acrylics, anything like that, that is plastic.
That's
And
right.
when we put them into our wash machines, they are shedding thousands upon thousands. I think it's like 100,000 pieces of microplastics with every run in the washing machine, which is just an insane amount, isn't it? So there are things that you can do there as well. It's again with the heat, you need to have it on a colder wash. Will stop some of the microplastics from shedding. And they'll shed. Obviously, they're not going into our bodies if they're shedding. They're shedding into our water systems, which is not good for aquatic life or our biodiversity.
They're probably
Um,
ending up in our water. Probably those are too
well,
small to be filtered, so we
yeah,
end up drinking that stuff as well eventually.
exactly, exactly. Um, yeah, I suppose, and then so there is something that you can buy if you do want to buy something to eliminate that from happening. It's called Guppy Friend, and basically it's like a little bag that you can put your plastic clothes into, your polyester or whatever into, and then put it through the washing machine, and it catches all of the microplastics in, so you can actually see the microplastics. Sometimes there's so many of them that you'll see the color of them in the bag itself, and then you can put the plastics into the bin and keep the bag and keep reusing it over and over again.
And is it a big
So
enough
that's
bag
one
to
way
have
to, like,
everything in your wash? Because I'm just thinking of,
yeah,
my son likes sportswear, so everything he has is
yeah.
plastic.
Yeah, you can get different sizes of it. So if you don't have a lot of polyester clothes or whatever, and you only need, the smaller one, you can get the smaller one, but there's bigger ones as well. So it's whatever
Right.
suits you. Yeah, there's different sizes, but that is a good one if you're looking to even see for your with your own eyes what it looks like, what the
Yeah.
microplastics, the amount of them. Yeah, it's just a crazy amount.
So the
But
things that you're looking for when you're getting clothes then that don't have plastic, cotton wouldn't have plastic.
Yeah.
Linen is not plastic. There are things that are biodegradable. Wool is not plastic.
Yeah.
Silk is not plastic. Did I
Yeah.
mention
Leather.
linen? But
Yeah.
there's things like, isn't there one like, is it tencel or rayon that's kind of a wood cellulose based product?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we must come back to that a different day. Maybe we'll talk about the whole fabrics and stuff another day. Um,
Yeah. There's loads of um slow fashion sites now that are starting to use different, or designers that are starting to use different fabrics, like things made from pineapple and apple,
that's right.
all that kind of stuff. So yeah, maybe we could do an episode on that sometime, Anna. We
Absolutely.
haven't got our research done today. Not for that. Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be an interesting one.
So yeah, so the clothes and the washing of the clothes and the washing of the clothes in colder water, these are all good things in general, even without the microplastics. They're good things. I mean, for me, to be able to take my really old clothes and put them into my compost bin because they're biodegradable, and that won't be the case with the plastic ones.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of so then if we think about like things like when you're out and about, you're bringing a bottle of water, don't, plastic bottles not, even if it's a reused, you're using a plastic bottle, if that's in the hot car, you're going to get microplastics in your water. So a metal bottle or a glass bottle is a better option.
Yeah,
For when you,
absolutely. Um, I saw a study before, and I think I was doing a workshop when I had the shop and I was doing research on it. And I think that if you have a plastic water bottle, I think there's a 95% chance that there's microplastics in the water that you're drinking. So
yeah,
it's almost guaranteed. So
yeah,
that's one way to make sure that you're not.
yeah.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah,
plenty of lovely insulated metal bottles that work very well.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Um, and they last for so long. I've got two water bottles, and they've they've both taken an absolute beating.
Yeah.
And they're still going strong. So yeah, yeah, I don't need any.
And they work well for both cold and heat. I know I sometimes I use them to bring hot water somewhere to make tea, and they're perfectly nice.
Oh
They
yeah, it's
they
lovely.
keep things hot and they keep things cold as well. So winter, spring, summer, fall, they're all good. Um,
Every season you've got a water bottle that's gonna sort
yes.
it out. The same water bottle. So true.
So then, one of the things is to, if you're out and about again, to order, if you're having something in a cafe, choose
Hmm.
a cafe that has like plates that are made out of ceramic or glass and
Yeah,
cups and not plastic.
yeah,
So, sit down and have yourself a nice meal, but have it on cutlery, have it with cutlery and on, with metal cutlery on ceramic plates.
yeah. And cups as well, like all of those cups, the single use cups, they always have plastic lined on them as
They
well.
do.
And again, you have it in the and tea
Yeah,
bags actually as well, Anna.
that's
Now that
right.
we're talking about
Yes.
it, tea bags,
Yeah.
um, loads of different brands of tea bags have plastic. So unless they actually say biodegradable on them,
Yeah.
they're pretty much guaranteed to have plastic
Some of them
in the bag
feel
itself.
really fancy, like that
Mm,
they're made of silk, but they're actually made of polyester. Because I know,
yeah,
because they go into my compost bin, which isn't
yeah,
great. And of course, the tea is all gone because the worms have eaten that, but the bag is left and probably has been introducing microplastics into my compost.
yeah,
So need to avoid those. So, you can use little cloth bags for your tea, or there's little metal things, or else just use a strainer when you pour your tea. Or maybe have the tea leaves in your cup and then read your tea leaves and, tell somebody's fortune. Did you ever do that? You ever see someone doing
I
that?
haven't got that far yet. Oh,
But
I have to
have
think.
you
I
ever had,
haven't.
have you ever had tea where there was tea leaves left in the bottom of the cup and, you swirl them around and see? I mean, it's quite
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. No, I haven't. I think I have an aversion to that. I don't like. My mom used to always be, she if her tea bag burst, she'd like have a reaction. Like, oh God, she'd be disgusted by it, and I think that's actually passed on to me. I
Right,
I I love loose leaf tea, but I hate the when the leaves get into the tea itself. I don't know.
right. I
I
guess I'm
think
I'm so old that that was something that happened with tea when
yeah,
it was all
yeah,
loose leaf tea when I was growing up. There was no tea
yeah,
bags.
yeah.
Um,
I do love loose leaf tea. I think it is gorgeous. I
it
just
is, and
don't
it's
like.
better quality tea than what's in the tea bags. They actually have to use better quality tea for the loose leaf tea, so it's definitely worth getting it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So then the other thing
yeah,
is
for
actually
sure.
to cook things from scratch. So if you're
Y-
eating food that has been cooked, for you, it's probably been packaged in plastic, but probably been cooked by people who are wearing gloves, plastic gloves,
Yeah,
in kind of some kind of a conveyor belt or factory where there's been plastic. So actually being able to buy, carrots and peel them and chop them and cook them in something metal or ceramic, you're guaranteed that you're not going to get any microplastics in those unless it's in the water. So, that's just something to do, and we'll come on to in our recommendations part a little kind of a challenge we're going to set ourselves here to do something in that space. But I mean, in general, for many reasons to do with health and the environment and everything, cooking for yourself is much better than buying food that's pre-made. There's no
yeah.
question about it.
Oh, for
From an
sure.
emotional point of view, from the health point of view. So just to encourage people to take the time, and the more you do it, the faster you get at it. Um,
Yeah.
so you think,
And I suppose you can get in the routine of preparing things in advance as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or doing the
Yeah.
batch cook, like we in our freezer, there's always 2 or 3 dinners that have made up that we made, we made a bit of lasagna, we made extra lasagna and we froze half of it, or made a shepherd's pie and froze half of it. So that just means that if you've got a day where you're not able to get home in time to have yourself cook a dinner, you can just defrost it and take, and have it.
Yeah.
But it does
And
take a
that
bit of
makes such a
planning.
difference.
Hmm?
Yeah, it does. And that makes such a difference. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not great for the batch cooking, I think. I do sometimes, but I get into my head and then I'll fly for a couple of weeks. But what I do is I prep veg that I can put into the freezer. And then at least that takes some of the effort out of the cooking. But yeah, I need to get better at making the stews and the pies and
Well,
things like that and having
soup
them
is a
ready to
great
go.
one to make. I mean, it's just as
Mm.
easy to make, you know, 10 portions of soup as it is to make 2 portions of soup.
Yeah, well, that's true. That is true.
Then if you have that
Uh,
soup and a bit of bread and some cheese, you know, like this isn't really soup weather, but it can be. Well, yesterday was kind of a soup day. So
I'm
just
looking out
having,
here now, Anna. The sky is on the ground here, so I think it is soup weather for me to hear to
okay.
ask evening.
So just to have those, have like, marifat peas, make a great soup, or, any of those kind of
Yeah,
lentily things with some
yeah,
veg are great. Um,
yeah. So
okay. So that's probably enough in terms of the microplastics. We will come back to this at some
yeah,
point, but um,
I hope we've covered. I think we've covered it well, and I hope that anyone listening isn't overwhelmed by it. But it's good to
yeah,
know. I think it's knowledge is power, isn't it?
it is. Yeah. So even just doing
Yeah,
a few, just to know that, putting plastic into that's the trigger for me. Seeing people put plastic things into the microwave is like, ooh,
yeah,
because it's so easy just to put it into a ceramic bowl or a glass bowl and do it that way instead.
yeah, yeah. A little bit extra washing up, but totally worth it in the end. And then all of a sudden, it's second nature for you to do
Yeah.
it.
So experience
Yeah,
is not stuff.
yeah.
We have kind of an interesting one this week.
Hmm.
So we're suggesting that you might
Yeah,
get
yeah.
get your
I really
hands on
love
a
it.
book that Evelyn really, really likes. And the chef, I got to meet him and to see him in action. So I was very impressed. So it's Connor Spacey, who's um, a zero waste chef, and he has a book called Wasted.
Wasted. He's got a few books. I think he's one called Taco as well, but Wasted is the one that we're going to be talking about today.
So that's published by Blasta Books, who are an amazing Irish book publisher, and their books are so beautifully illustrated and beautifully laid out,
Gorgeous.
and just like
Yeah.
makes you hungry reading them. But you can borrow the book from the library, or you can buy the book, or you can search for his recipes online. And for me, the one I'm going to try is I'm going to try and make ricotta with milk that's about to expire, because
Yeah.
we have a problem with, we either have too much milk or no milk. So right now we have too much milk. So I've wanted to make ricotta. It's very simple to do, I believe. I'm going to follow his recipe, and we'll talk about it next time we record, how we get on. But I
Excellent.
believe that if you make ricotta yourself, it's much nicer than buying it. So,
I've
and it's
heard
not
that as
hard
well.
to do.
Yeah.
Hmm?
And I've heard that as well that homemade ricotta is delicious. So I'm looking forward to hearing how you get on with that, Anna.
And what are you
Um,
going to do, Evelyn?
So one of the recipes that I found in it is his guacamole recipe. So the idea with Connor Spacey is that he doesn't waste anything, and he makes this book is all about using things that generally would be wasted in the kitchen. So just being creative that way. And this guacamole is made with the stems from broccoli that usually get thrown out.
Right.
So and I love guacamole, and I have some guilt sometimes for eating avocados that are flown halfway across the world. So if I can use up the ends of the broccoli and have something delicious from it as well, I'd be fairly delighted. So yeah, that's one I'm gonna try.
Great. And I'm actually
Yeah.
doing a food waste workshop in Castle Pollard Library in
Oh,
September.
that's good.
So this will be really good for me to do this to kind of see these will be good things to talk about and maybe even to bring his book to the workshop and talk about that kind of stuff.
Brilliant.
We've covered food waste, but this is kind of a different. So this is about cooking from scratch, avoiding
Yeah,
plastic. But
yeah,
yeah, so that's our
yeah.
experience for the week. So
Yeah,
now,
but that book is a really great one. So I hope people do have a look, and supporting an Irish chef as well. So very I think it's a
yes.
win-win, Anna.
So you've the
Yeah.
recommendation you've already kind of made, but may want to just make it again, which was the
Yes. The recommendation I was talking about was the Guppy Friend bag. So eliminating or significantly reducing microplastics in your wash. I think that's the one that we're going to go with. So
right.
the theme this week is it's funny how the microplastics and food have really kind of tied in together with this week's theme.
Well, now I think my theme always comes back to food and fairness.
And I won't complain about that, Anna.
No, no.
You know how I
So
feel about your food.
we could move on maybe to the seasonal food then.
Yeah.
That's a nice segue. So I mentioned that the tomatoes are not ripening as well as so I mean people that have commercial greenhouses have ways to make them ripen and they probably so I'd
Mm.
say if you went into most supermarkets and you looked at where the tomatoes are coming from, a lot of them are coming from Ireland, which is wonderful. Um,
Yes.
so this is the time to be using tomatoes to get Irish tomatoes and they taste so good. If you can get them from a farmer, even better, local farmer, that's fantastic. And then, you know, combine it with your fresh herbs with basil and coriander because they're doing really well at the moment as well. And to me, like a caprese salad, tomatoes, mozzarella,
Gorgeous.
and basil, that's the summer salad for me. And then maybe if I'm having Mexican food, I'm going to have some coriander and tomatoes and a bit of chili and
Beautiful.
some scallions. That's the other things. Those kind of would be the two things. And then there's lots of aubergines in season and courgettes. So maybe eggplant parmesan, which is basically just eggplants or aubergines and I'm going between my American and my my
Yeah.
Italian and my but anyhow, aubergines, tomato sauce with Irish fresh Irish tomatoes and some cheese on top is a very nice dish to have this
Gorgeous.
time of the year. And then just the
Very simple.
salads, like the salads are, I don't know, have you any lettuce growing? Are you able to be harvesting lettuce still, or is it all gone over?
No, it's gone over. I just actually was out in the garden on Sunday, and yeah, I had to say goodbye to the lettuces. They were I think I got the best out of them,
They're
which
going
was
a bit
great.
bitter, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then I'm glad that you said that the tomatoes are not ripening very well this year because mine aren't. They're
Do you
still
have
green.
tomatoes on the vine though? Do you have actually
Yeah,
tomatoes? Yeah, because they
yeah,
will ripen, but it
yeah,
just take a bit longer. So a lot of
yeah.
people are finding they're not there's like the pollinators are so few, we actually don't have the fruit is not even forming. So
Okay,
yeah, so
yeah,
if you've got tomatoes, you're at least you're one step along.
yeah. Well,
Try
no,
and
there's
even
only a few, but
try even bring in a few fat ones that look like they might be close and put them beside a banana. And that'll help them ripen as well.
okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, the banana produce it like it gases out ethylene, so that will help the tomatoes to ripen.
Great. Happy days. Okay, that's a good tip, Anna. I might do that
So
then.
yeah, I have a few that are outside that are actually ripening outside, which is kind of a miracle. And I will be saving the seeds from those ones because if they can grow well and ripen outside this year in Ireland, those are the tomatoes that you want to be growing in the future.
They're
So
cream of the crop.
yeah, so I mean I'm getting like 2 or 3 tomatoes a day, and I have
Mm,
maybe 10, 15 plants. So I'm not doing that well tomato
yeah,
wise.
yeah.
I should be having enough now that I'm having to that I'm awash in tomatoes. I'm thinking, but how am I going to store all these for next year? So
Mhm.
that's not happening. and it may not happen at all this year unless we get some more hot weather. So yeah, so, but if you can, like people that have greenhouses or that don't live in the Midlands where it's the coldest and the hottest, they have greenhouses where they have things going on that heat them up. So I have had some tomatoes in the supermarkets that were Irish and they were very nice. So I would recommend
Mm,
people go out and I think Dunn's is one of the better shops for having Irish tomatoes. So maybe
yeah,
check
Sun's
them
always
out.
good. Yeah, they
Yeah.
do. I did some planting as well the other day, and I put carrots down.
Oh,
The
excellent.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that my previous experience with carrots wasn't great because I didn't thin them out after they started to grow. So I'm going to watch them like a hawk this year, and hopefully I'm determined.
Very
Um,
good.
and I also found a packet of seeds of broccoli, which I was supposed to plant in July. So I just figured,
Try them.
that's it. Yeah, the weather's
Yeah.
so all over the place this year. I just think
Yeah.
let's just try it and see. And if it works out, it works out. So
And do you
yeah.
have raspberries growing at the moment? Do you have some
We
raspberries?
do, yeah. There's raspberries growing on it, but they're not anywhere near ripe.
Okay.
But the plants are absolute, like I mean, the plants themselves are huge, and maybe they're actually probably too big. That could be what's wrong. But they're not
Well, no,
ripening.
no. I mean, the raspberries, you have the autumn fruiting ones because I gave them to you and I only ever used those ones. And they actually you'll have raspberries until November.
Okay,
So they kind of they come around now and then they keep going for a long time.
great,
So
great,
and they're great because they don't have as many pests and you don't have as much bugs and stuff, but they actually they can handle the cold. A
great,
nice frosty sunny day they'll ripen. Um
excellent.
so yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's been lovely to get out and just kind of it. Well, Sunday was such a lovely day, and then it's all over the place at the minute. But yeah, getting out and actually walking around the garden and doing a bit is lovely.
good.
Yeah,
Great.
it
Well, so we'll
is.
say goodbye for this evening then and
Yeah, lovely
maybe
chatting as always, Anna.
absolutely. And for our lovely listeners, thanks for listening and subscribe, share, tell your friends, like us, review us if you can, all those good
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
But yeah, keep on listening, I suppose, is the main thing.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.